Good morning, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. Yesterday was raining. It rained all day. But today's beautiful. I'm on our back porch here. That's Frank, my husband, and I. We live in the city in Manhattan, but we have a small house, very much in the country, very rural, here in New Jersey. And that's where I'm at this morning. So I've got a sweatshirt on. It was really cold. It went from 2 weeks ago it was really hot to now it's really quite chilly. And you're in Arizona.
Yes, I'm in Chandler, which is a suburb just to the south of Phoenix, and it's still summertime here. I briefly debated doing this sitting out by the pool, but of course, at this time it's still about 8 o'clock in the morning. No, I'm here in Arizona. It's really nice.
Now, do you have a house?
Yes.
Oh,
hmm
nice. Now we're here to talk about. Well, first of all, it's really nice to meet you. You've had several articles that you've graciously allowed me to cross post at lgbtsr.org, and you have retirefabulously.com. So I wanted to talk about that this morning. How where the idea came from. I understand that you yourself are retired.
hmm
So tell us about that.
Sure. And first of all, I would like to thank you very much for all the support and the opportunity to contribute to lgbtsr.org. And, I just really appreciate having the opportunity to have my articles on there and the opportunity to talk this morning. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Way, um, let's see, my story in a nutshell. First of all, I've always been looking forward to retiring. My parents were very fortunate in that they were able to have a retirement period that lasted almost 30 years. They did some traveling. They weren't wealthy by any means, but they had saved enough money to be able to live comfortably
Hmm.
and truly have their time to do what they wanted to do and all that. And that's what I envisioned for myself going forward as well. And I actually retired about 3 years sooner than I had planned. And I've subsequently learned, by the way, that happens pretty frequently. A lot of times people find themselves, for one reason or another, at the end of their work career about 3 years earlier than they thought. What happened in my case was my employer offered a very attractive early retirement package, and after thinking about it for about half a year, I decided to take it.
Hmm.
So I have found myself here retired really about 3 years earlier than I wanted to, and it's been great so far. Now, the reason I started Retire Fabulously is this. As I was looking forward to and planning my retirement, I noticed that about at least 90% of the books that are out there, or the articles that are written in magazines or for websites, all talk about the financial aspect of saving money for retirement and how you should invest it, that sort of thing. And that's, of course, very, very important. But nobody is talking about how you're going to transition into retirement, or as I like to call it, the lifestyle aspects of retirement planning.
Hmm.
What do you do when you suddenly get all this free time on your hands? How do you choose where you want to live? What's your life going to be like? And I think it's important to plan for those things too, because I saw a lot of cases where people would retire from the work world and ultimately just be miserable. And I saw a number of cases where people died about 1 year after they retired. I mean, actually died. And I thought, it seems to me you should have plans for what you want to do with your life after you retire. And those plans can be pretty fabulous. And one last thing is that I noticed that not only was there a shortage of people writing about retirement lifestyle planning, even of those, practically none were devoted to LGBT people.
Hmm.
And in many cases, our issues are exactly the same, but we do have a few issues that our straight counterparts don't have, particularly when it comes to choosing where you want to live, arranging for things like, medical care, that sort of thing. So, our issues are a little bit different. And so I started Retire Fabulously to fill that need, to sort of bridge that gap.
Well, I forward your articles to Frank because I find them really helpful. Our situation, and it's one reason of the reasons I'm glad that you had your sites there, is that I'm a writer and I do all kinds of stuff, and if I were able to tomorrow, I would never go back to an office. I just would never spend another day of my life in an office cubicle. Frank, on the other hand, is in a position, and I don't think he minds me sharing this. He's in a position that he could retire I do wish we would find another word for it, but he could leave his job tomorrow. He has the resources to do that, but he does not know what he wants to do. And
Hmm.
it's one of those situations where, and I think an awful lot of, I'd read that a lot of people, they don't know what they want to do when they're not doing this job that they are prepared to leave.
Hmm.
And so, I'm always trying to get him to start thinking about that now. And then I also read one piece that said that don't worry about it if you don't know what you want to do, but you do want to make that transition, to go ahead and do it. So all of the resources that are out there that can help, I think are really valuable, and I'm glad that you have some very pertinent columns on your site.
Hmm. Well, thank you. And one thing that I have on the site now that people can go and download for free is a little exercise called the Retirement Visualization Guide. And it's only about 5 or 6 pages long, but it asks questions that help people zero in on what they might like to do afterwards or after they retire. And so that might be helpful for Frank. And one thing that I've learned too is that you really need a variety of activities that sort of in 4 areas. One is something that it will give you physical activity, whether that's just going for hikes, riding a bicycle, playing tennis, you know, going to the gym, whatever you want to do. One that allows for socialization, because a one of the major changes people have to make is when they leave the workplace, especially if you have an office job and you encounter people all day. Even though those people may not particularly be your friends, they're at least familiar faces. You say hi to them, you're around other people.
Hmm.
And when you retire, if you just stay home all the time, you really go stir crazy and you miss a lot of people contact. So there's physical activity, socialization, um, doing something that is just fulfilling to you, whether that's music or art or volunteering or any number of other things. And the fourth one, and I cannot believe I'm blanking out on this at the moment. It's early. I might have to quickly fire up my website here. But yeah, I feel like Rick Perry in the presentation debates. Yeah, which 3 government agencies would you get rid of? Oh, I forget. Okay, but anyway, you need a balance of activities so that uh, you get both the socialization, the physical, all those sort of things, and you have a well balanced retirement. Uh, but at any rate, and Jeff and I, my husband, have a little bit of the same challenge, and that is he, how do I put this? He hasn't looked forward to retirement the same way I have.
Hmm.
He saw that his parents fell into a lot of the traps of not having anything to do once they retired, not having really saved for it as adequately as they might have liked. And his dad, had no hobbies or interests, and so once he retired, he basically turned into a couch potato, was miserable, and he didn't die right away, but uh, he didn't particularly have a happy retirement.
Yeah.
And that's what my husband saw growing up. And so he just said, well, I don't want to retire. I don't want to end up like that. So, and one thing too that people have, if they if they relied upon their job or their career a lot for their personal validation
Hmm.
and contributing something to society, and I get rewards every so often, that sort of thing, if that's all you depend upon for your validation, then once that's taken away from you, that's an adjustment as well. I mean, I think some people genuinely feel like I've got to be productive, I've got to be doing something in order to to really be happy.
Yes, and the challenges for us is that we do have two homes, and we can't commute where I'm at now, and I should have situated myself in the shade somewhere. That's why I have these are transitional glasses. I think I can still see you. And the sun's coming down. But anyways, we have this house here where we really love it, but you can't commute from here to Manhattan. It's too far.
Hmm.
So that means that if we really wanted to live here or somewhere else outside of the city, then the whole retirement thing becomes an issue because um, I mean that's if we just lived in Manhattan, he could work there till he was 70. It wouldn't matter. But it's our desire to not. It's our desire to want to live out here that makes it that highlights that problem because we cannot live out here and work in the city. So
Right. I mean, does his job offer any opportunity for telecommuting or working remotely?
no, his boss is sort of old school because he's in the record business. He's a vice president of promotions for a label.
Ah,
And I've always thought he could certainly telecommute. All he needs is a phone and a computer. But his boss, and there are many of them like that out there. They want their bodies in the seats, in the cubicles, in the
mhm.
offices, in the building. Telecommuting is not really an option for him. So we're just going to have to see how it plays out. And too, I think if he really could say this is what he wanted to do, then it would be a lot easier because I know what I want to do. I'm doing what I want to do right now. It doesn't pay me. My book, writing my novels pays me, but not enough to support myself. Um, what else should we touch on here? Is there anything you would like to bring up?
Well, let's see. Um, well, you actually brought up a very interesting point just a moment ago, and that is, where do you want to live after you retire? And I did a poll of the readers of my blog probably 6 or 8 months ago now, and I was actually surprised at how many people are planning to live somewhere else after they retire. And I got quite a few people who mentioned the possibility of maintaining two homes in retirement. And that's great. In fact, and as long as you have the financial wherewithal to maintain two households and not one, that can be a terrific idea. And what's really funny is a lot of people who live throughout much of the U.S. think, I'm going to retire someplace where it's warmer, like Florida or Arizona. Well, I live here in Arizona, and here people are talking about retiring someplace cooler.
Yeah,
So I guess the grass really is greener. But here we have the phenomenon we call snowbirds, and that is that every year around November we get this large influx of people from states that are farther north and also from Canada that come here while it's warmer, and then they go back home at around March or April. And additionally, I am good friends with a woman here who lives here for much of the year and then goes up to Spokane, Washington during the really hot summer months.
hmm
So, but there's a lot of things to think about when you start thinking of the idea of where you'd like to live when you retire, because a lot of people end up where they do because that's where their job is,
hmm
and they may or may not actually like to live there. Well, one thing about retirement is that you can choose to live wherever you want. And as I'm learning, there's actually a lot of factors that play into that decision. So, and the one, it's a long topic we could get into, but the real quick thing I'll say is this: a lot of people do things like they'll go to Hawaii, and they'll think, oh, Hawaii's so beautiful, and there's the beach and the perfect weather, but man, I want to live here when I retire. What really happens is a lot of people get there, and after about 6 months, they move back
yeah,
because they realize that, when you live someplace permanently, you're not going to spend every day on the beach. You're not going to live in a luxury resort. You're going to live in a regular house. And they find that where they live may not have as much in terms of cultural amenities, restaurants, people that they know and love, that sort of thing. and bottom line is retirement destinations are not always good places to live permanently. They're great places to enjoy for a short period of time, but there's other criteria you should look for in a place to live permanently, and that retirement visualization guide will help with that.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out two things about that as we wrap. One is maintaining two properties is expensive.
Hmm.
So, and if either one of us is going to leave, it's not so much a fixed income, but it is a fixed income. And
Hmm.
you've really got to think: do I need to be putting 12, 13, $1,500 a month into an apartment that I'm not in unless you sublet it? So that's a big consideration. I don't. We're not gonna have two properties. And the other thing was about that we love it here in New Jersey, but we're on 26 acres and it's quite isolated. We're 20 minutes from New Hope, which I love. There's things around here, but I sometimes think I would want to be able to walk into town. I would want to be able to walk into and have breakfast because right here you've got to get in the car and go somewhere. So these are all things you really have to, like you said, you have to. There are places you go, oh, I'd love to retire here, but you have to really envision who you are in the space you're going to be in and what your days are going to be like and how accessible things are and all of that comes into play. So,
No, exactly. And here's one more topic, and this might be a good thing for us to conclude with. You mentioned that Frank sort of has a mental block against retire or, but with the word retirement, and my husband Jeff does too. And I've come up with a new word that I like to use, and that is renaissance.
oh,
And
I like that.
yeah, it's a time you can sort of rebrand or reinvent yourself to be the person you really want to be, not the person you have to be because that's what you can do for a job that will pay you. My own personal example is I'm a musician. I love playing jazz. I realized early on I probably didn't have enough talent or enough dedication to pursue a music performance career and also have a level of lifestyle that I wanted. And so I ended up in corporate America. And that was fine. I mean, overall, it was okay. But at heart, I'm a jazz musician. And now I can be more of a jazz musician. And in fact, I am. I play in a couple different ensembles around town and, I get to play. So I like to think of our retirement not so much as the end of something or the final phase, but it can be your renaissance when you rediscover what you're really passionate about and who you really are, and you can reinvent yourself to become that person. And in many ways, it can be the most satisfying time of your life.
Well, I like that word, and I've really liked talking to you, Skyping with you,
Hmm.
and these will be up. I'll both on the YouTube, my YouTube channel, and the SoundCloud audio version at LGBTSR next Friday is when I'm going to put them up. It's been a delight, and what else I was going to say? I hope I'm not too washed out by the sun. It's tricky here because I could have sat under the trees. I didn't think about it. Um, but your website is retirefabulously.com. A
Yes.
lot of great resources on there, and I like having a banner ad on my site for there, so that's easy to find too. And you are Dave Hughes.
Correct. Right. Thank you.
It's been great, and I will, correspond or communicate with you very soon.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you again for this opportunity. It's been wonderful to talk to you too, and have a little more face time with your readers, and or at least voice time. And thank you very much. It's been great.
You're welcome. You have a great Sunday.
You too. Bye.
Bye.